How's it going, guys? Week 3, day 1, and we start things off with my warm up for my squat session. So I was utilizing the mace and a little lacrosse ball just so I can get into the tight, more sensitive areas in my lower body a little bit more. I find that this helps a lot more than just typically foam rolling or using the foam roller. I just find that the foam rollers are just way too soft for me to actually get into those areas for me to feel any effects of the foam roller. So I've gone for something a little bit more firmer. Then we move here to some drills that I do always in between my squats and deadlift sessions as well. So I just like to loosen up, kind of reinforce engaging my core, and essentially just getting me prepared to do the movements that I want to progress in. I try not to spend too much time in these movements as well. I'm really against long warm ups because I just find that they just inevitably end up being more tiring. And also, number two, like you actually want to spend more time with the movements that you're trying to improve. And I understand that, of course, you want to, make sure you're loose, you want to make sure your mobility is still on point, but you actually might be selling yourself short by focusing on movements other than the ones that you're trying to progress in. So let that be a little lesson to you guys. If you find yourself warming up, for anything longer than like 15 to 20 minutes. I know some people that warm up for 45 minutes. Like for me, that's literally one main movement before I then start moving on to my accessories. So I wanted to show you all my fourth set because it moved a lot better as it would with the weight being lighter than my sorry, this is my third set, excuse me. So this moved a lot better than my fourth set, which was my last set. Generally, when I lift, I tend to go by the last rep. So what I mean by that is my decision to go in a little bit heavier will all be dependent on my last rep of that set. So I'll go for a set of 4 here, and this is 155 kilos. And as you can see, relatively okay. The hips shoot up first, which is something I'm always just trying to work on, but relatively okay. Like I've done 170 before, I've done 180 before for 4 reps. So this is 175. So in my mind, very doable. Unfortunately, it didn't go down that way today. And after that first rep, the weight just felt so much more heavy than it needed to be. Thankfully, it didn't look like so. As you can see here, I go down, pause, and then I come up. And again, position's very similar to how I was in the 155, which is how you always want it to look like. However, for me personally, it just felt a lot heavier than it needed to. And I just kind of got into my mind. And, I just felt like, nah, I definitely couldn't push 3 more reps after that. So I decided to cluster the set, meaning I have a brief rest in between each rep. And I was thinking, let me see if I can do an extra 3 in that fashion. And after this one, I was just like, yeah, let me call it a day. Again, relatively sound, but you can see that the speed of the rep was a lot slower than my last rep. So I just thought, you know what, let me just cap it there and then move on to my second movement, which was the seated safety squat bar. Good mornings. And this squat bar in particular, this SSB bar in particular, the handles are slightly closer to the neck. So it was a little bit more awkward trying to get my elbows like in between my knees. So I kind of had to like flare my elbows out, which kind of caused me to round even more in the upper back. Which, to be fair, in this case is actually not too bad because I want to go for as much flexion as I can in the bottom position. So really get a nice stretch into the lower back, take that range as far as I can, and then come back up. So this was my top set. This was 80 kilos. And yeah, moved fine. There was definitely more in the tank. I just find that sometimes when I do these movements, especially when I'm going relatively heavy for a high set of repetitions, I just lose count. So I was praying that it was 10 reps, and thankfully it was. So next time I'll definitely keep an eye on that. So there you go. Like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned to day 2.